Today we're going to be talking about the importance of nonverbal communication. It's Jordan, Gabe, Jacob, Lawson, and Tyler. We're going to be talking about nonverbal communication in the workplace, as we were tasked with giving a presentation on nonverbal communication and how to interpret it. We are trying to give salesmen in the company a basic level of understanding of nonverbal communication, so they are better able to pick up cues, information from customers. I'm going to be talking about high and low context cultures. In high context cultures, we expect you to have a higher understanding of just the basis of the communication and how you talk and the cues that you have naturally. These cultures are more in China and in the Eastern culture because they have more of a mutual respect. Not saying that we don't in the lower context cultures, but they are viewed as more understanding and with each other's customs, and they have a deeper rooted thing. In low context cultures, we have a low amount of understanding with amongst each other on the topic, and we feel like we have to over talk and make sure that we say the same thing over and over again. That's tended to be like in a Western culture like America. Like when we go through meetings, we write notes, we make sure that everything's specific and you know exactly what it is that we're talking about and what the point is we're trying to get across. For example, these are two recipes from different cultures. The one on the bottom is from a Eastern culture where it just tells you kind of general information, assuming that you already know. Like in the first sentence, take several handfuls of nice quality basil leaf. Like they don't tell you to take out the bad parts of the leaf. They don't tell you how to do that. They just assume that you already know those things. And whereas you see in the top, this is an American recipe, and it has very specific measurements, and it goes from top to bottom on what to do and how to do it. And that's just the difference between our cultures, and I feel like that's something very important for you to understand when you're going into a meeting or going into something that requires you to understand different cultures. How this relates to you, you have to know your audience. You have to know if you're dealing with an international customer or a customer that's been in Western civilization for a long amount of time. I feel like this can make or break a meeting, honestly. I feel like knowing how much to say and when to say and have that very good medium of understanding should be necessary for you to complete a sale. And in this article, high versus low context culture, a comparison of Chinese, Korean, and American cultures, it says the Chinese and Korean subject are to show exhibit tendencies that are consistent with Hell's description of high context cultures, and the American subject are to show exhibit tendencies of a low context culture. I mean, just knowing that if you're dealing with a Chinese or Korean customer, like they aren't used to us over talking and being so specific about everything. It's a natural understanding of a head nod of they like something, they don't like something. You have to read their body language more. And I feel like all of that is very important when it comes to nonverbal communication in the workplace and when you're trying to accomplish a sale. I'm going to be passing off to Gabe with emblems and adapters.
Awesome. So now we'll be getting into emblems and adapters. Perfect. Emblems are communicative word-like gestures that have a conventional form and conventional meaning within a particular community. Examples of these are a thumbs up or peace sign. Adapters are touch behaviors and movements that indicate internal states typically related to arousal or anxiety. Examples of these include scratching, twirling hair, fidgeting fingers, are all self-adapters. Emblems and communities. A first defining feature of emblems is that they involve a specific form readily recognized by the surrounding community. Several parameters are involved in this. Hand shape, place of articulation, and palm orientation are crucial in certain emblems. Examples of these include the crazy gesture needs to be articulated in the relation to the head. The peace sign in the UK needs to be formed with the palm facing away from the producer, or it can be taken as an insulting gesture. How people perceive adapters. Common nervousness adapters. According to Hideki Seacham, these may be done without us realizing we do it. If you watch yourself take an exam, you will pick up on motions you make that you were unaware you did. Examples of these include clicking pens, tapping your feet, or moving in a chair frequently. Common boredom adapters, often done subconsciously and may be perceived as disrespectful or lack of caring. Examples of these include playing with a straw in your drink or checking your phone frequently. The use of emblems in the workforce. In many work environments, not all emblems may be universal to all employees. It is best to verbally explain any directions rather than point, or verbally compliment someone rather than a thumbs up. This can alleviate any potential miscommunication. In situations where loud equipment is being used, be sure everyone has an understanding of common emblems used. In times of confusion, power down equipment and explain the task or ask questions instead of pursuing the task without full knowledge.
With that being said, I'm getting into the facial expressions. So, a facial expression, to simply put it, is motions or positions within the muscles of your face regarding the emotion or language you're speaking. This conveys your message to the audience. This is a lot of where the audience will get a message before your message is even put together. Um, most of the positions or messages your face will give off can be relayed from your eyes, cheeks, and mouth. And the eyes are the most important of all the features. Eye contact, smiling or no smile, your eyebrow tilt, and raised and lower cheeks are all parts of facial expression. Being able to read the differences in facial expressions will help you lead to a further understanding of the audience. Is it a happy expression? Is there cheeks lifted? Is there a smile? Is it a sad expression? Where's the eyebrow tilt? Is it down? Are their cheeks down? Is there no smile? Surprise, is their jaw, is their mouth open? There's a lot of different factors that open up into facial expression and understanding what someone is feeling at that point without even having to hear them say anything. And Ross Buck, who's a professor at UConn and a person who really gets into the sociology and psychology of facial expression, says there are 21 different facial expressions that any person can have. That ranges from triumph to sadness to arousal to all sorts of different things. What can we learn through facial expression? So facial expression can guide us into figuring out what someone else is feeling and guide the conversation accordingly. So if you can see that someone is sad without having to ask them or them telling you that someone's sad, you can adjust your words accordingly to not push any buttons or something like this. The story before the story is kind of a point where you understand, you can walk up to somebody and before you've even shaken their hand or you exchange any words, you can read their face. You can see someone's face further away than you can have a general conversation. And building our understanding of others' facial expressions can help build positive relationships and make our communication more effective for the workplace. Why is facial expression so important? It's one of the most important aspects of human interaction. I mean, if you're going to talk to somebody, you're looking at their face. You're taking in information from their face. It's something we see before we even have a conversation with someone. That's what I just mentioned. It's you're walking up to somebody and you see their face before you even have that close conversation with them. It's also important to understand your own facial expression. What facial expressions am I giving off? If I'm giving off an empowerment speech, I don't want to look scared up there. I don't want to look nervous. If I'm taking a test, you want to have self-confidence in yourself. Your teacher can see that, so you understand what's going on. Expressions can also help you relax and the audience as well. So if you seem relaxed, if you don't have any issues of what's going on, then the audience can also pick that up off of you, and it just creates an overall better communication platform.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll be talking about oculus and posture. Okay, so oculus is the study of eye movements and kind of what the meanings are to people. A study was conducted that tested how eye contact affected response, torso movement, and hand movements. This study was conducted by the American Physiological Association, and the chart is on the right here, and this shows you response latency from eye-to-eye contact, eye-to-knee contact, and then knee-to-knee contact. And what I mean by that is a sender and receiver either made eye-to-eye contact. The sender and the receiver either made the sender would look at the knees of the receiver or vice versa or whatever. And so in this chart over here, it shows that when eye-to-eye contact was made, latency time was at its lowest. So basically, they were more into the conversation. They were more aware of the conversation. It was at 1.88. And torso movements actually decreased during that too, showing more awareness and more attentiveness to the conversation. The only thing that increased was actually hand movements. And this kind of shows that as you make eye-to-eye contact, it can make people more nervous. And so there's situations when you're with a consumer where you want to make eye-to-eye contact. And honestly, when you start out your conversation, you should always make eye-to-eye contact. But if you see them getting really nervous and really getting away from the conversation, you might want to start looking elsewhere, because it could be that you're just making them very nervous by just staring at them constantly. So eyes can really impact a lot of things, nerves and a lot of things, but you can also get signals from eye contact. So like if someone's having like really hazy eyes and it looks like they're getting bored from the conversation, you need to recognize that, and you need to be able to change your wording to make it more exciting, or maybe put some more hand gestures in there to make them more interested in what you're trying to talk about. Next, I'm going to be talking about posture, as I mentioned. It's important for many reasons. Posture affects emotional status, perception, and many other things. It's not one-sided though. We both are, the sender and receiver both have postures. Closed and open postures are super important to think about when you're talking to someone. I honestly think you should be adapting an open posture, at least to begin with. An open posture was studied by Odd, DeBitten, and Zingler, and they said that an upright posture, which is an open posture, showed a more positive general mood and a higher processing speed. So when you have an open posture, you're going to be seeming more happy, more trustworthy, and you're also going to be more into the conversation. And so that's pretty important. The only problem is that you're not processing stuff as much. So you're not thinking about what you're talking about as much. And that's the only importance of having a closed posture. But one of the biggest thing is honestly just having an open posture makes you more trustworthy. And as being a salesman, you should be trying to be trustworthy to the consumer as you're trying to make them buy your product. So here's an example of a closed and open posture. And for a closed posture, you can see that it's more defensive. You're more trying to protect yourself. It's not really the thing you want to be having when you're talking to a consumer. You want to have this open posture. It can seem aggressive, but honestly, you're a salesman. You're trying to get them to buy the product. You should be having this open posture, seem like you're really into this product, like it's really for everybody, and that everybody should trust you and really consume this product. And next, I will be handing it off to Tyler to talk about body movements and proxemics.
All right, thank you. So like Lawson just said, I'll be talking about body movements. And the study of body movements, called kinesics, is key to understanding nonverbal communication. So first, body movements can complement the verbal message by reinforcing the main idea. Example of this would be providing an orientation presentation to a customer about a software program, and as you say, click on this tab, you may also initiate that action. Your verbal and nonverbal messages reinforce each other. You could also reinforce the message by repeating it. If you say, click on this tab, and then motion with your hand to the right, indicating that the customer should move the cursor, then they're more likely to initiate that. In addition to repeating your message, body movements can also regulate conversations. Nodding your head to indicate that you are listening may encourage the customer to continue asking questions. Holding your hand up, palm out, may signal them to stop. Body movements also substitute or replace verbal messages. An example of this would be if the customer makes a face of frustration while trying to use a software program, they may need assistance. If they push away from the computer and separate themselves physically, they may be extremely frustrated and just need to gauge your feelings and spend some time away. All right. Next, I'll be talking about proxemics. And the study of proxemics is a study of our perception and structuring of interpersonal and environmental space as communication. This is different for cultures, as proxemics examines how people unconsciously structure microspaces. Additionally, people from different cultures interacting with each other, they do not attach identical meanings to the same measured distance between them. For example, research done from Edwards Hall delineates 4 zones of interpersonal distance that characterize Western cultures, such as the intimate zone, which is up to 18 inches, the personal zone, which is between 18 to 48 inches, the social zone, which is 48 inches, and the public zone, which is greater than 12 feet. Sociological research have determined that outside temperature, gender, and age have a lot to do with the behavior of different countries when it comes to personal space. And these countries can be sorted out into like contact cultures, which is the South American and the Middle East and Southern Europe. And they also can be sorted out into the non-contact cultures, which is Northern America, Northern Europe, and Asia. Proxemics is usually categorized in terms of the degree which one approaches or avoids the other person. And there's a study of the nonverbal approach and avoidance. Where this fact is evident in research on implicit prejudice. So in early studies, white American participants kept a greater distance between themselves and Black targets more recently. This avoidance of racial outgroup members has also been linked to implicit measures of prejudice. And with violence towards those targets, in addition to interpersonal distance, avoidant gaze patterns have also been linked to racial prejudice. The relationship between the attitudes and proxemics appears to generalize beyond race. For example, participants reporting negative attitudes towards obese people sat further from the overweight interaction partners.